welcome to Today Matters. My name is Chris Torres, and I get the opportunity to walk us through a short devotional in the Word of God. And we're looking at counterfeit Christianity, and within that, some of the cultural things that have crept into our belief system and why we think the way that we think and how our thoughts are formed when it comes to Christianity. And today, I want to talk about, I want to start with asking a question. Do you remember what it was like in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade to want to be popular? Do you remember that? I don't know about you, but I remember, man, I would make decisions. I would choose things that I normally wouldn't do just so that people would like me. And, you know, when it comes to our faith, some of the key motivators for us as we follow Jesus actually can tend to be, because of the culture we grew up in, is our own personal popularity. How well will somebody like me? How good of a person will people think I am? And it'll even encourage us to do things that we don't actually want to do, like serve or give our money or spend our time investing in other people and getting connected in community. And listen, it was no different 2,000 years ago. You see, 2,000 years ago in the first century, there was this need to be popular as well. In fact, a lot of the religiosity that we see is this political maneuvering for people to kind of reach the top and be publicly affirmed by people. And in fact, it's so bad that Jesus has to address it himself. And in Matthew 23, verse 5, he's talking about the religious leaders of this day. Here's what he says. He says, everything they do is done for people to see. And he warns them that we are not to follow like that. And because of the cultural influence in our lives today, I think it's important that we look at, how did Jesus deal with this temptation? Because, in fact, it is a temptation. And we see that in Matthew chapter 4, verse 5 and 6. Jesus was led out into the wilderness, and it's there that he was tempted by Satan. And here's what that says. It says this. It says, then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. He said, if you are the Son of God, he said, throw yourself down. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. Now, let me tell you something. Jesus was not popular. In fact, especially at that time, his ministry had just started. He had just been baptized, and now he has an opportunity to sit with the big dogs in the synagogues at the high place, and it's all right there. And Jesus looks at him, and his response is great. It's so short and sweet. And he says this. He says, do not put the Lord your God to the test. What's Jesus doing? Jesus is ruthlessly rejecting popularity. In fact, he's echoing Deuteronomy 6:16, where the Bible talks about how the nation of Israel had been tempted by so many other popular gods that whenever things weren't going their way, whenever they wanted a rain for the harvest or a more fun, kind of wild experience with a god, they would turn to these other gods that were popular at the time. And he's warning them, stay focused on my decrees, on my stipulations, and it'll get you to the land in which you want to go. And so Jesus is echoing this, and he's rejecting the idea of drawing attention to yourself. And in our society of social influencers, of all the images and ads and everything we see daily, it can become easy to make our Christianity more about our popularity than our willingness to follow Jesus. And so here's the question I have for you today. I want you to ask yourself this question. If somebody was to watch me for 72 hours, if they were to watch my life, how I lived, how I interacted with people, what I talked about, what would they say? I know it's a kind of a creeper question, but just roll with me. What would they say about my life? What would they gather from the way that I live my life? And if we want to even push that a little bit deeper, ask yourself this question. Do I act differently in certain circles of my life? Meaning, the way that I behave on Sunday when I'm around other Christians and followers, is that different from the way that I act Friday night or the places that I go? What does that look like? And it's something for us to consider. And again, not at all to make anybody feel guilty. It's to make us aware of how culture has crept in to some of our Christian beliefs. And we want to be faithful to following Jesus all the way. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm excited because tomorrow we're going to get to talk about something that I think is really important: rest. We'll see you tomorrow.